Hi, I'm Ilana King, and I'm an entrance exam specialist. And I want to show you a fun game that you can use with your students. If you teach entrance exam students, or really English in any capacity, you know that your students need to use figurative language devices in their writing. And most of the time, this isn't a problem, right? You teach them the different techniques and you get them to add them to their writing, and it's all part of the journey we take in helping them improve the quality of their writing. However, there's one snag that I often come across with students. They learn a few examples of different language techniques like similes and metaphors, and they use them again and again in their writing. And very often they're cliched and not really showing off what they know and what they can do. So I came up with a fun game that you can play to help move your students past this sticking point and get them to create more varied and interesting examples of figurative language in their writing. All you need is a blank board game template, and these are really easily available online. You can print them off if you're teaching in person and fill them in, or you can use them on screen, which is what I'm going to show you in a minute. On the board game spaces, you just insert the figurative language techniques that you want to use and practice with your students. So I'm going to show you one that I've prepared for on screen because I teach entirely online, but you can do this same thing by teaching in person as well. So I use bit paper for my online whiteboard, and this particular template was printed from Twinkle, but it's just blank. You can adapt it to any game. So I've just filled it in with some different language techniques that I would typically use with an 11 plus student. And you can see that I've also put in some, little extra things like go back 3 spaces and miss a turn and things like that, just to make the game a little bit more interesting. So it's really, really simple. This is all you need, and a dice. So for online, I use one of these online dices. This is from a site called Random Dice. You can use them from anywhere. You just click it and it rolls the dice. But if you're playing in person, obviously you just use a regular dice. So you take turns, you move from the start to the finish, depending on what the dice rolls. Simple, right? When you land on a space, you have to come up with an example of that language device. But here's the clincher. This is what makes this game good. It can't be cliched or boring. The other person has veto rights in this game. So if it's too boring, the other person can say, you can't move on until you come up with something better. And of course, this works both ways. So you're going to say it to your student, and they're going to say it to you as well as you go around. And you can deliberately come up with some really boring or cliched ones on your turn to make sure they spot that they are boring and cliched. Then you can model improving them. What's so great about this game is it can be adapted to any level. How tough you are on the student in terms of what they come up with depends on that individual student, and how many different language devices you put on your board is up to you. I mean, this is one I've done, but you can change it and add anything in there. So let's have an example. So you roll a dice. Let's say you rolled onto a simile, and your student says something like, it was as red as a rose. And of course, this is really dull. This is really boring. This is cliched. So you would say to them, And in fact, if you have a buzzer, this is really good. If you can like come up with a buzzer sound, you get apps on your phone for buzzer sounds. You know, you can make this really exciting by buzzing, right? Say no, and ask them to improve it. So they can stay with the concept of red when they improve it, but they need to come up with something that's a little bit different. So, you can help them with this. You can encourage them to think about what else is red. What could you think of other than a rose when we think of something really, really red? And you can get them to brainstorm different ideas and help them to come up with something that is really more interesting. And you can do this for all of the different ones on here. It's totally adaptable. So as long as you've got the game board and a dice, that's all you need. The rest is in your head, right? The rest you come up with and you work on as you do it. And as I say, it's fun if you deliberately come up with some really boring and cliched ones yourself when it's your turn, so that they can buzz you and spot your really boring and cliched ones. So it's a great game to play. It doesn't take very long. You can throw it into any session. It adds value because you are actually teaching and improving their writing through this game, but it's fun and engaging. So it's something you can do that is not just getting them to come up with these out loud for, discussion, or certainly not in writing them down. And then when you get them into the habit of doing this with the game, they can then add it into their stories. So I hope you liked that game. And if you've used it with your students, drop me a line. I'd love to hear how it works, and if it was fun, and if it improved your students' writing. If you want other ideas for using with your students, fun games, I have other videos on this YouTube channel, and you can have a look through those. And if you're looking for any further advice or information on how to teach for entrance exams, you can find the links right here on my channel. So thank you and goodbye.